I was mistaken in last week's sermon when I said that the gospel reading for this week would have to do with the marriage at Cana, that Jesus turning the water into wine. But it turns out that's not what it is. It's only that in year C of our cycle of readings, but not this year, which is year B. This year's readings are mostly about the experience of being called. Both the Old Testament reading from the first book of Samuel, the reading from the Gospel according to John, tell about a call. One to Samuel, one to Nathaniel. And this theme of being called is really a major one throughout the Bible, one of the most important themes. There's the calling of Abraham to leave the city. There's Moses being called in the experience of the burning bush. Disciples are called right off their fishing boats. St. Paul is called on the road to Damascus. Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. Here I am, Lord. Send me. I do believe that I was called to be a priest in the Episcopal Church, but it was very different for me than what's depicted in most of these stories. There weren't any cherubim singing, "Holy, holy, holy," no burning bush, no blinding light. It was more step by step, without there even seeming to be a clear final goal. My prayer at that time pretty much involved asking God to let me know if I was going in the wrong direction. It's really only in looking back that I can see how the road led to here, how many life experiences, seemingly random life experiences, contributed to, in some way, to what I do in ministry. Not just being an acolyte at Trinity, Iowa City, but being on the debate team and acting in school plays, getting interested in India and meditation. It was the 60s. And working for a summer in New York City at Columbus Circle when I was 16. Now, little of it was spiritual, but each in a way was a stone that became a part of the house that I was building to live in for the rest of my life. And I think that more vague experience of call is more common than all the thunder and lightning stuff we hear of in the stories. It's not usually like picking up a ringing phone and hearing God on the other end of the line saying, your mission, if you choose to accept it, is whatever. It's more as if that call comes from the surround. Life all around you, showing you just how you fit in, how you in particular fit in. And we can fight that call, but usually that struggle just seems to lead to confusion and problems. On the road to Damascus, the voice of Jesus after the blinding light asked Paul why he was fighting it. It hurts to kick against the goads, the voice said. And it can feel like a fate, an irresistible destiny sometimes that you just can't fight even if you try. When the prophet Jeremiah was called, he said, I'm just a boy. But God replied, before you were in the womb, I knew you. Jesus saw Nathanael sitting under the fig tree before Philip even told him about Jesus. I think we resist the idea of fate, the sense of there being a destiny somehow moving toward points before they happen, especially in America with our idea of self-made men and independence and lots of options. It undercuts our strong belief in the power of free will and the idea of personal responsibility. But doesn't it seem sometimes that there is a kind of unconscious flow? That the complexities of reality and thought and life experience that lead us to choose to go a certain way are already all in place before we make that choice, before we come to the decision? So that given all that, we could probably not really choose something else or decide something else. Both the psychologist James Hillman and the singer Sting tell us that the pattern of the oak tree can be found within the acorn. And that, if you're open to it, can seem like there's an empty place in the universe of reality that's just waiting for you to grow into it. And when you reach your wholeness in your own fullness of time, it fits just right. Now, as a practical matter, I choose to look at the past as if it was predetermined, and look at the future as if it's open to choice and change. But I don't know if that's the way it really is. It could be both, I suppose, a kind of limited choice and a partial sort of destiny. I imagine it's like surfing, although I've never surfed. The waves will go where the waves will go. But you have a choice about which wave to ride, and probably at least some choice in how you ride it. So there may be a core within us all, a soul's code, as Hillman puts it, that then can be expressed in lots of different ways. A call that's heard in different languages, different dialects. And call isn't limited to religious or spiritual stuff. It has to do with our whole identity. It requires a response with our whole lives. When we're in the wrong place or in the wrong job, it can't be fixed by somehow changing our calling to fit the action, essentially lying to ourselves. That's a road to spiritual death, I think. But maybe we can find that the call is being expressed in that place, in that job. And we just need to figure out how. That takes discernment. Discernment and interpretation. Usually when we make choices or try to accomplish something, we're trying to mold reality, impose our will so things turn out the way we want. Crafting our life with planning and purpose. But that doesn't work when you're dealing with call. You have to, in fact, let go of all that. Let go of desires. Let go of expectations. And try to see what's really there, what's now becoming. To sense it, not make it. And that's not very easy. Because we tend to go through life based on a story we're telling ourselves, some outline at least of our autobiography. And then when stuff happens, experience by experience, we try to fit it in, just to add to the story, make it go with the plot. And things that don't fit, very often we don't even see, let alone fight against. But discernment acknowledges that we're not really the authors of that story. It's not our story. It's God's story in us. The story of life, the story of creation. Our lives aren't gifts, no matter how good we are, holy we are, religious we are. Our lives aren't gifts to God. Our lives are gifts from God to us. Maybe we get to pick out the wrapping or tie the bow, or maybe not. But 90% of our lives or more are out of our control. And it's that part that we connect with through discernment and interpretation. We can look deeply to see it coming, shaping itself through the fog. We can hear that still small voice playing through our lives. Maybe it's like dancing. We don't make the music, but we can try to feel the rhythm, just to take the next step without looking too clunky. But we have to stop thinking about it, counting the steps. We just have to feel it. And I'm not sure that it really makes much difference whether we're consciously aware of our calling or not. The flower can bloom without knowing it's beautiful. But with discernment, with interpretation of what's going on in life, discernment of call, our awareness is expanded, our experience deepened. We relate with the earth and the sky in new ways. We interbe with other people through a different kind of love. So here we are, sitting under our fig tree, maybe lying down in the temple. But look and listen for what's coming. The heavens are open. The angels descend. Speak, Lord. Your servant is listening. Here I am. Send me. Thanks be to God.